Ladies and gentlemen, this is an account of actual events involving real people. The names have been changed, and they'll be portrayed by professional actors for obvious reasons. But as far as the motion picture medium permits it, the manner in which these events came about and the answers given under hypnosis by Ruth Simmons will be presented as they happened in reality. I want to make it clear that I am neither a qualified doctor nor a professional hypnotist. I'm a conventional businessman with a respectable 3-generation family business in the town of Pueblo, Colorado. So, to show you how and why our search for Bridey Murphy came about, I'll go back and start from the beginning. One night, just as my wife, Hazel, and I were leaving our house to go to a party... Hello.
Hello. I'm trying to find Morey Bernstein.
This is Morey.
I'm Jerry Thomas. I didn't mean to bother you, but I was all set to take off for Denver in my own plane when a storm warning came through. I'm grounded here for the night. Then I remember my cousin, George Taylor, telling me to call you if I ever got stuck in Pueblo. So I'm stuck. Can you help me?
I guess I'd better. Your cousin's just about our largest account. Where are you calling from?
At the drugstore near the airport.
All right, my wife and I will come and pick you up right away. Well, a visiting fireman has to be entertained, so we took him along to a party that was being given by Rex and Ruth Simmons. You can imagine how great I felt when he turned out to be a parlor hypnotist.
It's hazy and out of focus. Just keep looking at it till it starts to get hazy and out of focus. Hazy and out of focus.
I'm sorry about this. If I'd known his brains needed testing, I wouldn't have brought him here.
Forget it. They're happy.
You're beginning to feel sleepy. Can you hear me? You're in a deep, refreshing sleep. You're enjoying it. It feels wonderful.
Who are you kidding, Jerry? Lois is no more hypnotized than I am. Are you, Lois?
Has she a husband or a boyfriend here?
Oh, yes. Dr. Deering, this is Mr. Thomas. He and Lois are engaged.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Would you say your fiancée is faking all this just for a gag?
I wish I could say yes. She's in a genuine hypnotic trance.
You're a fully qualified medical practitioner, and you believe this mumbo-jumbo?
This must be the first time you've ever seen anybody in a hypnotic trance.
I'm still waiting for proof that it is a hypnotic trance.
Okay. Lois, how old are you?
26.
All right. I'm going to take you back to the time when you were much younger. You're just going to drift back through time until you come to your 14th birthday. You're drifting through time. Now you're 14 years old. It's your birthday. What's your name?
Lois McInlock.
Where are you?
At home.
Where's home?
387 Linden Drive.
Pueblo?
No, Kansas City.
Can you tell us anything particularly nice about your birthday?
Bobby's such a fool. You see that scratch on my wrist?
Yeah?
Sammy Kane gave me a copy of Forever Amber, and Bobby got so mad. He's just so jealous. And
You like Bobby?
Uh-huh, he's real cute.
Would you like to write your name on this piece of paper?
Sure.
That's fine. Okay, now let's try going further back, shall we? Let's try going back to your 6th birthday. And now you're 6 years old. Is it a happy day for you?
Uh-huh.
Can you read and write?
Some.
Show me how you write your name.
All of it?
As much of it as you can.
Well, I don't make L's so good.
Never mind, try. Oh, that the hand you always use?
Sure. Teacher's trying to change me over, but I don't want to.
Anyone want to ask her a question?
Yes. What's playing at the local movie house?
Do you know what movie's playing at the local theater, Lois?
Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire in Top Hat. I seen it. It's lovely.
Okay. Now you're feeling peaceful and rested. When you wake up, you'll feel fine. And you'll feel hungry. You'll ask for something to eat. After you've taken 2 bites, you will reach down and remove your left shoe and stocking. Have you got that? Mm-hmm. You have?
Mm-hmm.
Right. When I count 3, you'll wake up rested and hungry in this present state. 1, 2, 3.
It's better than a steam bath and a massage anytime. Ooh, I'm dying of hunger. Can I have something to eat? Why's everyone gone so quiet? I didn't say anything I shouldn't, did I?
Why did you take off your shoe and stocking?
Well, I didn't.
Oh?
Did I do that? What on earth for?
Because I told you to.
Remind me never to play poker with you, will you?
Well, Mr. Bernstein, now what do you say?
Bet you couldn't do it to me.
Want to try?
Sure.
Oh, no, Morey.
Watch this ring. Just keep looking at it till it becomes hazy and out of form. Hazy and out of form. See? Quit killing my act, will you? You're fighting me.
No, he isn't. He's one of the few types that's immune to hypnotic suggestion.
You bet I am.
That's the way he's gonna stay.
See, what can you do?
I could have forgotten the whole nutty business then and there if Dr. Deering hadn't offended my ego by that crack of his. As it was, I went to the library next day to find out what was so unusual about my immunity to hypnosis, and whether that made me any screwier than the people who go out like a light the minute some phony snaps his fingers at them. The next thing I knew, I'd stumbled into a world where scientists and philosophers had repeatedly claimed that hypnotism, in the right hands, could be used for the benefit of all mankind. I read everything I could find on the subject, until at last I was bursting to find out whether I could hypnotize, even if I couldn't be hypnotized. Hazel herself determined the path I would take from there on. For years, she had suffered from migraine headaches that weren't brought on by any organic cause, and therefore none of the doctors had been able to cure them.
Darling, you've been wishing you had a guinea pig to experiment with. Well, how about me? I'm nearly going crazy. I'll try anything.
You will? Okay, why not? Give me a moment to brush up on it. It was too easy. She responded exactly as the textbook said a good subject would respond. I told her the headaches weren't coming from any physical cause. Therefore, they were only imagined, and that she wasn't going to fear them anymore. When I brought her out of it, the headache was gone. After that, there was no holding me. I had her stand with her arms stretched out. I told her it was a steel bar welded to her body, and it was. Hazel, your arm is no longer a steel bar. You're relaxed and rested. You feel no discomfort of any kind. You feel no discomfort of any kind. You're waking up and feeling fine. You're waking up and feeling fine. You're waking... You do feel fine, don't you, honey?
Oh, yes, darling, wonderful. Oh, Morey, you should wake me up sooner. I've had a cake in the oven.
Well, there I was, Morey Bernstein, big shot hypnotist in one successful jump. I was so full of confidence, I decided then and there to prove Deering wrong by hypnotizing myself. But the wind was blowing from the wrong direction or something. I only broke myself up. One thing was certain. I was determined to conquer every obstacle that stood between me and a complete working knowledge of hypnosis from A to Z. Deering didn't fall over backwards with enthusiasm, but he said he was willing to go along with me.
In fact, if you'd like to make yourself useful, we're as short-staffed as the Dickens. You could check in as a part-time occupational therapist and see how your theories stand up against cold, hard reality.
Oh, Morey?
Sure.
Can I? You really mean that?
He's never known what it's like to be short-staffed.
You'll find out. Oh, brother, Willie.
Most people are easily hypnotized, and most people can learn to hypnotize. After that, it's up to the intelligence and responsibility of the people concerned.
Boat.
Boat.
Would you stand up and take my arm?
I can't.
Please, yes, you can. You can walk.
Slowly and surely, I began to get results.
Now, boat.
Boat. B-O-A-T. Boat.
A really good subject can boost up his intelligence to its maximum, control pain in any part of his own body, and relax completely in the face of almost any crisis. But one day I inherited a case that was much too tricky for an amateur to tackle, even with Deering's supervision.
It's no good. I don't seem to be making any headway with her.
Tell her she doesn't have polio. Tell her she just thinks she has because she saw her sister die of it.
I can't tell her things like that. I can only suggest positive thinking.
Well, go ahead and suggest it.
You are not afraid anymore. You've got to conquer your fears.
I don't remember how it happened. I wish I could. Do you remember how you feel while you're being hypnotized?
I'm afraid that so far no one's been able to hypnotize me.
Not at all? Well, how can you possibly know what you're doing?
He cured you, didn't he?
Oh, who are you kidding, Doctor? You're the one that cured me.
The next development, and the biggest yet, came almost out of the blue. My father was entertaining the managing director of a big tractor company, a fellow called Catlett, and had brought him to our house for drinks before taking him out to dinner.
Morey, your father's been telling me about your fascination with hypnotism. Tell me, have you ever heard of a man by the name of Edgar Casey?
No, is he someone I should have heard of?
Well, he died in '45. Casey used hypnosis on himself to diagnose illness in other people. He was even able to tell them who they were in a previous existence and sometimes what they could expect in the future.
Oh, no.
What's so funny?
Look, the whole reason why hypnotism is cold-shouldered by medicine and science is because phonies like this fellow you're talking about try and turn a serious medium into a load of baloney and set hypnotism back another 100 years.
You're entitled to your own opinion, Morey, just as we all are. But Edgar Casey kept my father alive for 20 years. If you are serious about the value of hypnotism in medicine, my advice to you is make it your job to investigate thoroughly before you condemn out of hand. Just as we do in business.
I'm sorry, Mr. Catlett.
So am I.
I had no right to sound off the way I did. Can you tell me more about this man, Casey?
Well, he was a farm boy with no specialized education beyond grade school, except for a profound knowledge of the Bible. He knew less than nothing about medicine until he hypnotized himself into a state of trance and recontacted his patient on another level of consciousness. Then he spoke in a voice of absolute authority and profound medical knowledge. It wasn't even necessary for the patient to be there in the same room with him. In a number of cases, he wasn't even in the same town. Casey had the ability to direct his subconscious mind to wherever he wanted it to go.
And he always cured his patient?
I don't think you quite follow me. Casey didn't do the curing. He analyzed the cause of the illness. Furthermore, he refused to take personal credit for the results. He maintained that he was merely an instrument of God's will.
What's your explanation of it?
I don't know. I don't have one. I accept his. The conscious mind in its normal state is insensitive to anything except its own immediate problems. Under hypnosis, however, Casey was able to draw upon the universal knowledge which is as old as mankind itself, which exists in the subconscious mind.
I still don't see how reincarnation is dragged into all this.
Well, once Casey was in contact with the patient's subconscious memory, he was able to tell whether a physical illness really was physical, or if the cause lay much further back in time, in some act of cruelty or greed committed in some previous existence on this earth.
You mean nobody ever gets away with a darn thing?
Does that dismay you?
No, but it's an ugly thought that we have to come back here to pay for our past crimes when we're not even allowed to remember what we did wrong.
Would a man be better off for knowing about his past sins when his only purpose here is to repair a damage he did to himself? Casey believed that we are never faced with an obstacle we aren't capable of surmounting. According to him, the law of creation is compassionate and just. This planet is just one step in a vast plan for a spiritual evolution, which eventually enables a man to perfect himself and return to his creator.
Are there any books about him that I could read?
Yes, there's plenty of information available at the public library. If that isn't enough, his son Hugh has kept all of his files intact at Virginia Beach. I'm certain he'll give you complete access to them.
Hi, Hazel. Did you get the message?
Oh, sure. It just passed 10 feet over my head.
Tell me, didn't Casey ever do anything simple enough for someone like me to understand?
Well, way back in the early days of Casey's career, a boy was brought to him with an incurable infection on his leg. He was brought by one of the very few doctors who didn't look on Casey with open hostility as a fraud. Casey used his self-hypnosis to enter into a state of trance and at once made contact with the boy on a deep subconscious level. He diagnosed the infection as bordering on the need for amputation. Then he stated that a medication existed that could still effect a cure. Its name was oil of smoke. The doctor had never heard of it. Nor could he find any reference to it in the local druggist's catalogs. So presuming that Casey had made a mistake, he went back to him. This time under trance, Casey's subconscious mind projected itself into a fairly distant town. He named the town and gave the address of an obscure drugstore where the oil of smoke could be obtained. In answer to the doctor's wire, however, the druggist sent back word that he didn't carry and had never carried oil of smoke or anything approximating it. Once again, Casey went into his self-induced hypnotic state, and this time he specified the exact shelf in the drugstore where the oil of smoke could be found. So now the boy's fate lay in the hands of the druggist, who could have well dismissed the second wire as the work of an irresponsible crank. Instead, he took the trouble to look on the shelf Casey had described. There he found a bottle which had been there, overlooked through all the years he had owned the drugstore. It was labeled oil of smoke. There was only one bottle, and the company that manufactured it had been out of business for so long that no records of its existence remained. But it did its job so thoroughly that in just over a week, the boy was safely out of any danger of amputation, and in as many days again, his leg had healed completely.
Not because I doubted Catlett's sincerity, but because I always have to prove everything to myself firsthand, I read up all I could on Casey. And when I still found him too hard to swallow without a grain of salt, I made it my business to go to Virginia Beach to meet his son, Hugh. He turned out to be a dignified and courteous gentleman of the old school, who allowed me complete access to his father's documented case histories, over 2,000 of them. Time after time under hypnosis, Edgar Casey had re-examined and re-diagnosed the problems of the people who'd come to him. Some for physical help, some for spiritual help. Often his findings were literally last-minute rescues from the grave. And invariably, as Catlett had said, he attributed the source of his power to his rigid faith in God.
Seems like I've got quite a bit of retracting to do.
Well, sir, I'm glad you're willing to concede that Edgar Casey wasn't a fraud.
Fraud? No, sir. That he never was.
Look, Casey proved one thing to me beyond any further question of doubt whatsoever. There's such a gigantic force wrapped up in hypnosis that, handled the right way, it could stop civilization going crazy and blowing itself up.
Gee, Hazel, this is the first time I've ever seen him so head up.
Oh, he's sincere, all right. He may be knocking himself out of the ring, but he's sincere.
This thing must have a lot of other angles that nobody's learned how to contact or make use of yet. Oh, I don't mean reincarnation, that's for the birds. But something, some sort of universal energy that could be harnessed. Age regression, that's the beginning. Hypnotizing somebody back to their childhood. If the human brain can remember things that far back, it must be a pretty smart contraption.
I just can't get over Morey wanting to break the time barrier with his two bare hands. Look, Ma, no jet.
Oh, ha, very comical. Turn blue, Bernstein.
Oh, Morey, we're just kidding you because we love you. Hazel, let him age regress you back to your childhood, and we'll stand by with diapers and safety pins.
No, I'm afraid I'm not a very good subject for him anymore. I just sort of lie there and doze peacefully with my mind a complete blank. Makes him so mad.
Hey, Ruth, how about you? Why don't you be the guinea pig this time?
I don't know. Shall I, Rex?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I like you just as you are.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think I'm going to do? Turn her into a Halloween witch or something?
Look, why should Ruth and I monkey around with something we don't understand and don't want to?
Now, Rex has a point there. After all, it isn't the kind of a thing that a respectable insurance man would want to tangle with. It's like belonging to a nudist camp and then suddenly finding your picture in a health magazine at the local drugstore.
Yeah, big fat joke. What if I did come home one night and say, look, I just got my picture in a health magazine, under hypnosis, and the head office has fired me? You wouldn't laugh then, I bet.
Isn't he a pet? Just as square as they come, but I worship all 6 sides.
What can you do with a doll like this? All right, I give up.
Nurse, notify surgery before he changes his mind. Morey, get him another scotch. My murky past may knock him for a loop.
Better make it a double.
Double? Right.
All you want to do is to drift off into a peaceful, pleasant, deep, deep sleep. Flame means sleep. Flame, sleep. Flame, sleep. Flame, sleep. Now we're going to drift back through time. When next I talk to you, you'll remember how you felt when you were only 7 years old. But you will be able to answer me if I ask you any questions. How you can feel yourself drifting way back through time and space to when you were just 7 years old. But you will be able to answer me if I ask you any questions. Now we're back at the time when you were 7 years old. Do you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
Delphi Academy.
All right. Who sits in front of you?
Jacqueline.
And who sits behind you?
Verna May.
Verna May what?
Ruth.
Do you know any boys in the class?
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of one of them?
Donald.
Donald what?
Barker.
Well, there it was. Ruth took to it like a duck to water. It would have been a crime not to press on further. Even Rex admitted that. So a couple of nights later, when they couldn't get a babysitter, we went over to their house and picked up where we'd left off. All right, now rest and relax. I'm going to talk to you in a moment. And by then you'll remember the way you felt when you were only 1 year old. Only 1 year old, but you'll be able to tell me about it. Now, do you remember how you felt when you were 1 year old?
Yes.
Did you have any toys?
Had some blocks and a cotton dolly.
What did you say when you wanted a drink of water?
Wah, wah.
What did you say when you wanted a glass of milk?
Well, couldn't say that.
All right, now rest and relax, rest and relax. Because in a moment, we're going to try and go even further back.
Haven't you gone back far enough?
Ruth, would you sooner not go back any further?
Don't mind.
All right. Now we're going to drift back through time and space. Back, back, as far back as your memory can go. Whatever you see, try and tell me about it. Now you're as far back as your memory can go. Can you still see yourself?
Yes.
Do you still know what your name is?
Uh-huh. Bridey.
Your name is what?
Bridey.
Well, don't you have any other names?
Bridey Murphy.
Where do you live?
In Cork. Cork.
Well, what is the name of the country in which you live?
It's Ireland.
Ireland.
How old are you?
4 years old.
Are you a girl or a boy?
A girl.
What are you doing?
paint off all my bed. Just painted it and made it pretty, and it's a metal bed, and I scratched the paint off it. Dug my nails in every post and just ruined it. It was just terrible.
Why did you do that?
I ran through the house and got a spanking.
Now, try and see yourself a little older. See if you can see yourself at 6 or 7 or 8. How old are you?
8.
Well, now that you're 8 years old, do you know what year it is?
18 something. 1806.
1806.
That's enough, Morey. Bring her out of it.
We can't stop now. Hazel, make him see we can't stop now. Doc, tell him it's not doing her any harm. She said so herself when I asked her.
No, it's too dangerous.
Rex, let me carry on a few minutes longer, please.
No, it's too dangerous.
Well, Doc's not worried, is he? He'd know if she was in any danger. For Pete's sake, Rex, now that we've come this far.
She's breathing evenly. Her pulse is a little slow, but regular. But it's your decision, nobody else's.
Rex, please.
All right, go ahead.
All right. It's 1806. Your name's Bridey Murphy. What is the name of your mother?
Kathleen.
What is your father's name?
Duncan. Duncan Murphy.
Is he a tall man or a short man?
Tall man.
What color hair?
Ooh, sort of reddish like mine.
Your hair's red?
All
right. It's 1806. Your name's Bridey Murphy, and you're 8 years old. What are you doing now?
Playing house with my brother,
What is your brother's name?
Duncan.
Do you play any other games?
Hide and seek. Can't find Duncan. Knows better places than me to hide.
Is Duncan older than you?
Mm-hmm.
How much older?
2 years older.
Do you have any other brothers or sisters?
Had one brother that died.
What did he die from?
He was sick. Some kind of a black something, I don't know.
How old were you when he died?
4.
How old was he?
Just a baby. He was sick, and I ran through the house and made a noise, and he died, and I got a spanking. Scratched all the paint off my bed.
Tell me, why did they name you Friday?
Bridey. Bridey.
Oh, I see, Bridey. Well, why did they name you that?
Named me after my grandmother Bridget, and I'm Bridey.
I see. And what are the names of any of your neighbors?
Don't have any neighbors. We live outside the village.
I see. Where does your father work?
He's a barrister. Downtown in the village. A barrister.
What town?
In Cork. He's a smart man.
All right. Now, try and see yourself a little older. Can you see yourself when you're about 15 years old? Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have a job? Are you working any place?
No.
You mean you stay at home?
No, I go to Miss Strange's day school. And I stay away from home all week.
What are you studying?
Oh, to be a lady. house things and proper things.
Well, do they teach you how to read at this day school that you go to? Do they teach you how to read?
Oh, they read to us, and our mother's supposed to teach us a lot of it. And, we learn to read
You learn to read a little there.
Yes, a little.
Well, now, tell me, can you sing? Can you sing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there some song, some short, easy song that you'd like to sing? Just some gay little song that you remember.
Father's girl's a dancing doll. Father's girl's a dancing doll. Swing around and sing around. Father's girl's a dancing doll.
That's very charming. Have you seen what it looks like in black and white?
Look, Morey, aren't you getting a little too wrapped up in all this?
Oh, honey, of course not. I just want to get it all transcribed and filed so I can find my way about in it when I start verifying the facts.
You know, sometimes you act as if you're married to Bridey Murphy instead of me.
Oh, Hazel, that's crazy.
You spend more time with her than you do with me.
No, I don't.
You're sure you're not falling in love with her, Morey?
Oh, for Pete's sake, honey. Don't tell me you're getting jealous of a dame who died 100 years ago.
Yes, when you act as though she was still alive and living on the next street.
Darling, if Columbus had listened to his crew, he'd have turned his ship around 10 days out of Lisbon, and America would never have been discovered.
Nor would Bridey Murphy. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea either.
I suppose you'd like me to quit now, forget it ever happened.
So would Rex.
Look, Deering has to admit it's not doing Ruth any actual harm.
Well, we don't have any children. Maybe that's why we don't see things exactly the way he does.
Hazel, are you jealous of Ruth, or Bridey, or both of them?
Well, I just can't quite see myself as head wife of a hypnotized harem, that's all.
Baby, in that incarnation, you were Belfast and I was Cork.
Mr. Bernstein, ha, ha, ha.
All right, now rest and relax, rest and relax. I want you to think about your birthday. Now, what was the date of your birthday, the month and day of your birthday?
It was in the holidays.
Do you remember the month?
It was the 12th month.
What about the day?
It was the 20th day.
The 20th day of the 12th month.
I got up for a fitting.
Well, what was the fitting for? Why was there a fitting?
For my 3 new slips. I had to have the one done for Genevieve's tea and cakes, and my mother said, we'll just make 3 while we've got you on the board. The little girl likes pretty things.
All right. What else?
My mother spent the whole morning making me 3 pretty slips with sashes. And I had white slippers. They were sent to me. And I wore my white slip with a green sash and my new shoes. And I went to Mrs. Strange's for Genevieve's tea and cakes. And she said, you're a very pretty little girl. She was with her hand out for what I brought her, too.
Did anything else happen that day?
No. That was a lovely day. The party, the tea and cakes, and the 3 new slips.
Now, try and see yourself a little older. Just move along until you come across something you would like to tell me about.
We were to have special guests.
What were their names?
McCarthy.
How do you spell that name?
M-A-C-C-A-R-T-H-Y.
How many McCarthys were coming to visit you?
A young man and his father.
The young man's last name was McCarthy. What was his first name?
It started with a B.
What was his father's name?
His father's name was John.
John McCarthy. And his son, what was his name?
His name was Brian.
And what was special about their visit?
I married him.
You married who, Brian? Did you like Brian the first time you met him?
No.
How old was Brian?
He was 19.
Oh, he was 2 years older than you. But you didn't like him the first time you met him.
He was all right. He wasn't anything.
Why did you get engaged to him?
Well, he came to work for his father in the summer, and I went with him, and it was just taken for granted, I guess.
Well, did you like anyone else before you met Brian?
No.
Well, what did Brian do?
He was a barrister, too.
Where did he work?
Oh, he worked at Belfast, and he taught at Queen's University. And he helped his father. Oh, he didn't actually work in his father's office, but his father would tell him of people in that part of the country that he could help with. And oh, I don't know too much about it, you know. He didn't care to tell me. But he just would write to his father, and he would pay him a small amount, but he worked hard.
Big deal. What was the name of Brian's mother?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the Bible. You see, he had a brother. He was a still child, and his mother died. And he went then to live with his grandmother.
Well, was this still child born before or after Brian?
After. Brian wouldn't have been born if his mother had died.
All right, Brian would have been the older. All right. Now, here's a question I want you to think about. When you were in that lifetime as Bridey Murphy, did you have any particular talent? Could you play the piano? Did you like to go dancing?
Well, I like to go dancing.
Well, can you think of an occasion when you were dancing and tell us what kind of a dance it was?
You dance when you get married. It's just an Irish jig thing. You dance, and they put money in your pockets. It's a party, and everybody gives their money, and that way you have a gift, you see.
Is there any particular dance that you like best?
Oh, I like the morning jig.
Is that what you called it, the morning jig?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you remember the steps?
Yes.
All right, I want you to go through the morning jig in your mind. You don't have to do anything now. Just relax comfortably now and go through the morning jig. After you awaken tonight, you'll be asked to dance it. And you'll be able to dance it very easily. Now, see yourself getting a little older. See yourself getting a little older. Can you see yourself at the time of your marriage? Can you see yourself at the time of your marriage? What year was that?
Let's see. I was 16 and 18 and 14. 18 and 18.
Well, how old were you? And we can figure it out for you. How old were you when you got married?
I was 20 when I got married. I figured it out for myself.
Oh, I see. Then it was 18. All right. All right, now, are you in a church?
No, I'm not.
Not in a church?
No, I couldn't be married in the church.
Why not?
Because I just couldn't. Father John said you can if you come over to the church, but I didn't want to go over to the church.
Oh, you mean you weren't a Catholic?
No.
What were you?
I was a Protestant. We always say the prayers from the Bible just at our house.
Well, can you say any of those prayers now? Say any one prayer now.
I can say the prayer we say before our meal. Bless this house and all the weather. Keep it gay and springy heather.
bless the children, bless the food. Keep us happy, bright, and good. That's before we eat.
Well, that's charming. All right. Tell me, is the marriage a happy one?
Yes.
Does Brian always provide well for you?
Yes, he's a good man.
Have you any children?
No, no children.
Who married you?
Father John.
What was Father John's last name? Well, did you ever see it printed? Did you ever see it written?
Oh, I saw it on the papers. I saw G. G-O-R-M-A-N.
Gorman? Father John Gorman? Is that what it was?
Father John Gorman.
You know what kind of a priest he was?
He was a priest at St. Teresa's church.
Where was St. Teresa's?
It was on the main way.
What's the name of the main way?
Oh, it was off Dooley Road.
What town is it in?
Belfast.
Oh, you live in Belfast now. Can you remember your address in Belfast? What about your address in Cork? Can you remember that address?
Oh, that was the Meadows.
What else?
Just the Meadows.
All right, now, when you lived in Belfast, did you do your own cooking?
And who would do it if I didn't?
You didn't have a maid.
No.
I see. Well, what was your favorite dish?
I like platters or flats of potato cakes. But I certainly had my fill of potato cakes.
What was Brian's favorite dish?
He liked boiled beef and onions. That was his favorite.
Boiled beef and onions?
I'd cook it all day.
Well, was there any particular Irish dish that he liked?
Well, that's Irish. Boiled beef and onions is a good Irish dish.
I know. Where did you buy your foodstuffs?
I bought it. Brian bought it at the greengrocer's.
What was the greengrocer's name?
John.
Well, try and spell it for us.
C-A-R, 2 R's. I'm not much at spelling.
I know, but we can get this. C-A-R-R, you said. C-A-R-R...
I-A-N, just.
Carrion? Oh, Carrigan.
Maybe that's not the way you spell it, but that's his name. You see, we had an arrangement where Brian, well, he helped them with things, and it wasn't the same for anything he bought. That's why he did the shopping. There were places there where he had to do the shopping because he had an arrangement with the proprietors.
All right. How were the streets lighted? How were the streets lighted there in Belfast?
Oh, dear. Oh, I don't know. They were just... That's not for a woman to know. They were just poles with lights on them that were burning some way. I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Ask who?
Brian says I'm getting a chill.
It's about enough, Morey.
I want you to clear your mind completely because in a few minutes we're coming back to the present time and place. You'll feel better than before we started the session. After you awaken, when you're asked, you'll be able to do the morning jig. It'll be very easy. You'll be surprised that you remember it in detail. All right, you're back at the present time and place. You're perfectly comfortable. You feel very, very pleasant. A soothing, comfortable sensation. I'm going to count to 5. And when I reach the count of 5, you'll awaken and feel fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How do you feel, honey?
Wonderful.
You sure you're not too tired? No exhaustion of any kind?
No, really, I feel great. Hurry up and play back what I said. You promised I could hear the whole thing tonight.
Don't you have a feeling you would like to dance a jig for us first?
What? Morey, Rex and I haven't gone dancing for years.
Oh, just to humor me, Ruth. Stand over here and maybe you'll suddenly get the urge to do some kind of little dance.
Morey, I don't know any little dances.
Just trust to instinct and let yourself go.
I feel real silly.
What's this business with your hand on your mouth?
Oh, that's for the yawn.
For the what?
That's why it's called a morning jig, because of the yawn.
Is that right, Ruth? Is that what the yawn at the end means?
What yawn? The yawn at the end of what? I told you I didn't know how to do your old jig. Let me hear my own playbacks or else.
You bet.
They were just poles with lights on them. They were burning some way. I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Ask who?
Ask.
Are you cold?
Brian says I'm getting a chill.
Well, how about that, Ruth? How about that, eh?
I couldn't have said all that.
I'm sorry, Morey, that's it. That's as far as we go. I don't care what you're trying to prove.
Seen the noon edition, Morey?
Oh.
There's a write-up about you and Ruth Simmons proving life after death by hypnotizing each other. Or some such idiotic claptrap.
For Pete's sake, let me see it.
Any more of that kind of publicity, and you're going to drive away every big account we ever had.
No, I'm not. And I'm not going to end up in a padded cell either. I admit it's rotten publicity. I'll have to get him to print a retraction before Rex blows his top.
I suppose it doesn't bother you if I blow my top.
Father.
Morey, I think you've gone crazy. I'm serious.
Hello.
Morey, I've just read the ribbing they gave you in the noon edition. Don't let it get you down. Look, I'm here with 3 friends of mine. One's a newspaper man, one's a publisher, the other's a professor of philosophy. They're willing to give your Bridey a serious hearing. Would you mind playing the tapes for them?
Well, I'll be very glad to, sir.
I'll have to ask.
Ask who?
Ask.
Are you cold?
Brian says I'm getting a chill.
Well, that's all there is.
I'm completely fascinated.
Then you don't think that Morey and Ruth just faked this whole thing for a gag?
If they did, Mrs. Simmons ought to be starring on Broadway. She certainly fooled me.
I'm glad you feel that way, Professor.
I'd like to watch one of those sessions. Would that be possible?
No, I'm afraid not. Rex Simmons put his foot down.
Do you consider it important to go on?
What we've done is just the beginning. I've never worked with a more responsive subject. I doubt that I ever will.
Professor, couldn't you use a little tactful persuasion on Rex?
But what if it falls on deaf ears?
Oh, it won't. Not coming from you.
Oh, very well, then. I'll invite them to lunch with these 3 gentlemen, and we'll see where we go from there.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Your husband led us to believe we've heard the last of poor Bridey Murphy. Is that so, Mrs. Simmons?
Well, he doesn't quite see what's to be gained by going on with it. He's the boss.
What a pity.
Why? What would justify another session, Professor?
Find out whose subconscious mind she's coming from. Mrs. Simmons or Mr. Bernstein's. Wouldn't you say so, Grandma?
Yes, that's a good question. I pass.
Wouldn't it be to satisfy ourselves she isn't coming from anyone's subconscious?
Yes, but if it isn't Ruth's subconscious mind or Morey's, where else could she be coming from?
From beyond the grave, or from outer space, or from Professor Einstein's theory of time.
In other words, you're allowing for the possibility that it really is Bridey Murphy's spirit that Mr. Bernstein invokes.
Now you put your foot in it. Reincarnation is regarded by the church as an invention of the devil, isn't it, Father Bernard?
No. More as an emotional escapism for the spiritually insecure.
Father Bernard, if I were a Buddhist, would you classify me as spiritually or emotionally insecure? Or would you respect my right to believe in reincarnation?
I'd respect it with pleasure. provided you respected my right to reject reincarnation as contrary to divine law.
You're a lot more tolerant than I took you for.
Has it ever occurred to you, Mr. Cranmer, that any sincere faith manifests its strength by its tolerance of other faiths?
Except that Mr. Cranmer doesn't happen to be a Buddhist. He's a Christian. At least I hope he is.
I hope so, too. Unless that means that I'm doomed to eternal retribution for my misspent life, eh?
I think it's time you reread your New Testament. Your misspent life has already been paid for by the suffering on the cross.
Father, as a matter of fact, you know, I do believe that.
Along with reincarnation, I presume?
You're determined that there's just no such thing, aren't you?
Well, if there is, I'm in the wrong calling. It's in direct contradiction to the teachings of all the churches.
Reverend, do all the churches frown on hypnotism, too?
Well, not when it's used in the cause of medicine and scientific progress.
The churches only oppose the irresponsible use of it when the proper precautions haven't been taken against its dangers.
In short, when it's practiced by unqualified amateurs like Mr. Bernstein?
I have no more desire to push my beliefs down Mr. Bernstein's throat than he has to push his down mine.
Except you'd like to outlaw all experiments in age regression by hypnosis.
Well, that wouldn't be because I happen to be a priest, Mr. Catlett, but only because the subconscious mind is still an undiscovered continent for the most part. I feel it's wiser to leave the experts to explore it in their own way, in their own time. That's exactly the way I've been trying to say it.
Well, speaking as a neutral, has Mr. Bernstein started something so diabolical that he must stand condemned for it without any further evidence on the subject?
I must say, I was only scared when they first played back that voice, and I realized I'd done the talking. Now I'm just as curious as Morey to know how she got there. What about it, Rex? Can't Morey have another session, just so that everybody here can listen and judge for themselves?
That seems fair, Mr. Simmons.
Certainly does.
It's entirely up to you, honey.
Thank you, darling.
Is there any particular question you'd like me to ask her?
Ask her if she remembers how she died.
All right, now rest and relax. Rest and relax. Now you're looking at yourself when you were in that lifetime as Bridey Murphy. Try and tell me as an observer so it won't disturb you. Try and remember how you died.
Fell down. Fell down on the stairs, and seems I broke some bones in my hip. I was such a burden. Had to be carried about.
How old were you?
66.
Did Brian take good care of you?
Oh, yes. He was tired all the time, though.
In what city were you living when you died?
In Belfast.
Can you remember the day you died?
It was a Sunday.
How much do you remember about it?
A lady came to stay with me so Brian could go to church. He didn't think that I was going to go that fast. He was terribly upset when he came home and found out that I was dead.
You mean you can remember what happened after you died? After you died, could you watch them bury you? Could you watch them bury your body?
Oh, yes, I watched them ditch my body.
What do you mean, ditched your body?
Put it in the ground for good.
Did you try to tell anyone you were watching them?
No, I was tired.
They ditched your body where?
I wasn't allowed on the hallowed ground.
Oh, you went on hallowed ground. But you did realize that you hadn't died when your body died.
I always wanted to tell Brian. He was so worried that he didn't say enough prayers or go to church or enough. Something all the time.
wake for you.
No, I told Brian I didn't want anyone to be unhappy or mourn for me.
I see.
I was such a burden. I was happy just to go to sleep.
Can you tell us where you went after that?
I stayed in the house with Brian.
Did you try and tell Brian you were there?
He won't listen.
Do you think if he'd really tried, he could have heard you?
I don't know. I think so.
You're not sure?
Oh, I just wanted him to so bad.
Could you tell what he was thinking about?
If I thought about it, I could know what he was thinking. I knew when he needed me, and he missed me after Father John didn't come to the house anymore. He was lonely.
Rest and relax. Rest and relax. Now, you told us that you went from your house in Belfast back to Cork after you were dead. How did you get from Belfast to Cork?
I just willed myself there.
You did what?
Willed myself there.
How long did it take you?
I don't know. It wasn't any time.
Why did you go back to Cork?
I went back to see my brother Duncan. He was still alive, and he was so old.
Did you ever let Duncan know that you were there?
No. He wouldn't listen either.
In this afterworld, did you have any feelings or emotions?
You were just satisfied.
Was it better than your life on Earth?
No, it wasn't full enough. You couldn't do any of the things, couldn't accomplish anything.
Were you ever unhappy?
No, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Well, in this afterworld, did you have all your senses? For instance, could you touch things?
No.
You couldn't touch things?
Oh, you could see.
You could see?
And you could...
You could see, but you couldn't touch.
You could hear.
You could hear. All right, I see. Well, in this afterworld, were there such things as sickness or death?
Oh, there was no death. You just passed from one existence to another.
Was there any old age?
There were old people. I was old. I was 66.
Did you get any older?
No.
Did you have to obey any regulations or laws of any kind?
No.
No laws or regulations?
No.
Nobody guided you? Nobody gave you any instructions?
No.
You just went where you willed to go?
Yes.
You just did what you willed to do?
Yes.
Well, did you ever eat anything?
No. Never eat, never sleep, never get tired there.
How did you spend all your time?
Just watching.
Did it seem like a long time, or did time mean anything?
Doesn't mean anything.
You didn't pay any attention to time?
No night or no day.
Did you ever have any pain?
No.
No pain? I see. Well, were there any such things as love or hate?
Love those you left behind.
Well, in this afterworld, did you have any attachments of any kind? Any family attachments or relatives?
Oh, my mother... I didn't see my mother. My father said he saw her, but I didn't.
You didn't see your mother?
No.
But your father told you that he did.
Yes.
How did you speak to each other?
Just like we always did.
Did Duncan join you after he died?
No, I didn't see everybody I knew. There were lots of people there I didn't know.
Well, who did you see that you knew?
I saw my little brother that died.
Could he talk to you?
Yes, he said he just remembered some things about me, but he didn't remember my mother or the house. He remembered some things about Duncan, but no, you couldn't talk to people very long. They'd go away.
Well, could any of the people in that afterworld speak to any of the people who were still on Earth?
No.
You never saw it happen?
Tried. Lots of people tried to talk to people, but they wouldn't listen.
Well, while you were in that afterworld, could you tell the future for the people on Earth? Could you look at the people on Earth and see what was going to happen to them?
Yes.
You could?
Yes.
You could see the future?
Yes.
What makes you say that? Give us an example.
I saw a war. A man there said there was going to be a war. That was before I was born. You knew what was going to happen if you were there.
I see, all right.
It didn't concern us.
It didn't concern you. Can you tell me how you finally left that world?
I left and I was born in America again. I was born in Iowa.
Do you remember how you were born again? Do you remember how it was possible for you to be born again?
I don't know it. It just happens. And you just don't remember. You remember some things, and then all of a sudden I remember just being a baby again.
Mommy!
Honey, what are you doing downstairs this time of night, huh?
What's Mommy doing?
She's asleep, honey, just like you ought to be. Now, come on, I'll take you back up to bed.
I want Mommy to take me.
She can't, sweetie. She's fast asleep. Now, come on.
All right, I want you to clear your mind completely because you're coming back to the present time and place. Now you're back in the present time and place. You feel a comfortable, soothing sensation. I'll count to 5, and when I reach the count of 5, you'll awaken and you'll feel fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can I get you something, Ruth? A cup of coffee?
Oh, coffee will be fine.
I'll fix it right away.
Wait till you hear this.
Morey?
Thanks.
No, thank you. What do you make of it?
I wouldn't be surprised if they turn out to be meddling with an energy violent enough to blow them right through the next world and into the one after that.
You really feel that way about it? Why don't you warn them against it?
Have you been in the driver's seat tonight? Would you let anyone else talk you out of pushing on further?
If you were in his shoes, what would you do, Kramer?
I'd quit right now, Catlett, while I was still ahead, if I weren't a publisher on the track of a good seller.
Oh, you think there's a book in this?
Maybe.
You lose your shot.
Hello, Rex. I've been calling you all over town. Listen, I've got an offer from a publisher to do a book on Bridey Murphy.
I tell you, Morey, I think it's great that it's being taken seriously enough for a book, but... What? Excuse me. Butch, please, son. Son, would you please... Ruth, would you come and get your son?
Look, it's only going to be a kind of professional textbook. It probably won't sell more than 100 copies, if that. The public will never even know it's been written.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Deering, see how he feels about it, huh?
Why Deering?
Well, we're not sure yet, but I think there might be another baby on the way.
Gee, Rex, congratulations.
You know, I feel very sympathetic towards Hazel.
Why, has Morey started beating her?
No. It's this fixation he's got about Bridey. I want to ask you something. How many people are going to be charitable enough to think that Morey's interest in you is all on account of one of your past lives?
Oh, Rex, that's silly. That's the last thing to bother Hazel in 1,000 years.
Okay. She's more understanding than I am. But when he comes to you and wants to put you in this book he's talking about, I'd like you to say no. That's what I want you to say, no.
How can I? I don't even know what kind of book it's going to be.
What kind of a book can it be except one that makes a screwball out of Morey and knuckleheads out of the rest of us?
Why? As long as he just puts down everything that happened?
Who's ever going to believe it ever happened that way?
Do you want me never to let him hypnotize me again?
Go ahead if you're as nutty about it as he is.
But the book was heading for trouble in other quarters as well. By the time I was able to get to New York again, Cranmer had heard from Ireland in answer to the first feelers he'd put out.
I still think there's a book in it, Morey. But it's not going to be as easy as it seemed at first. Now, here are the first 3 replies to the feelers that we sent out. The one on top's from London.
Apparently, the records for that period are extremely rare. Ordinarily, no register of births, marriages, or deaths were kept before 1864. That's a lot of help.
So, the only person who can tell us where to go and look for cast iron proof is Bridey Murphy herself.
Well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not asking the right questions. I'm no expert at it.
No. Then there's this to bear in mind. That perhaps in her lifetime, a person like Bridey Murphy might have tended to brighten a humdrum life by pretending that she and her husband were somebody, you know, instead of nobody. Well, if that's so, it's only natural to assume that she's going to pretend with you, too. And Brian, well, perhaps he wasn't anything nearly as fine-sounding as a barrister.
What was he then, a dog catcher?
No, he could have been a barrister's coachman, or perhaps his confidential messenger. And it wouldn't surprise me, Morey, if her father didn't turn out to be, well, just a little less grand than she'd like you to think he was.
In short, Bridey Murphy's a liar and I'm a sucker, huh?
Don't take everything so personally. A few innocent white lies now and then are every woman's privilege. But, Morey, question her on 1 or 2 specific points, and then try to catch her up.
You mean grill her till she comes clean?
Lord, no. She's such a timid little thing, she'd probably die of fright. But try to get some facts that we can verify without upsetting her confidence in you.
I feel like a heel already.
Well, don't let that stop you from getting the facts. Unless, of course, you want a book that's going to bring every witch hunter in the 48 states down on your neck.
Okay. This time we're going to try and get definite proof that you lived in Ireland at that time. Where can we find some records that would prove you lived in Ireland at that time? Did you ever write anyone any letters? Did you ever get any letters from anyone?
I got some letters from home.
Did you save any of those letters?
Oh, I did. I saved them.
Well, did you have any favorite hiding places where you would hide, your own personal possessions, maybe some money, or those letters, or anything else? Did you have any favorite hiding place?
Why do you want to know?
Well, we're just trying to find out where we could find some written evidence, some records that would prove you lived in Ireland at that time.
I had them in the hut.
The hut?
In the house.
Any particular place?
Oh, I had them in the... Well, you know where the... Well, there's a little pewter dish, and it's a funny brown color, and it's on the second shelf.
The second shelf of what?
Who are you?
I'm your friend. I'm your friend.
Oh, yes. We've traveled before.
Traveled before?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. Now, you told us that you like to go dancing. Can you give us the name of any one place where you went dancing?
Mrs. Strain's Hall.
Was that the place you told us about before, where you went to school?
She had a hall. I didn't go to school in the hall.
I see. All right, now, clear your mind. Clear your mind completely. Now, let's go up to the time of your death. You told us that you attended your own funeral, that you watched them bury you. Is that right? Well, if you remember that, you must remember what year it was. Perhaps they had it marked on the grave or on the tombstone or wherever they marked it. Now, what year was that? Are you looking at the tombstone now? Well, read the whole thing. What does the whole thing say? Read the whole thing besides the numbers.
Bridget, Kathleen, M. McCarthy.
What does the M stand for?
Murphy.
For Murphy, all right. What else is on the tombstone? Are there any numbers on the tombstone?
1, 7, and I think it's a 9 and an 8. And there's a line.
A line, all right.
And a 1 again.
1 again?
And an 8 and let's see, 6. And Brian says they didn't make it very plain.
Brian said they didn't do it very plain.
Well, he was upset about it.
He was?
It's a 4, though.
1864. Did they make out a death certificate? Did they make out any kind of a death certificate or publish anything in the newspapers?
Well, why don't you ask Father John?
Where else could we find some records? Was there a marriage certificate?
Boy, I believe there was. Oh, sure, they had to publish the banns. Father John had the banns published.
Oh, the church would have some records.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Well, what kind of
We
records?
had to give a tithing.
Tithing?
Yes, we had to be obligated. I had to sign the record. I wanted not to do it, but Brian was very certain that we must. And do you know that when we got married, they had to put it on the church board?
Put it on the church board?
There they would have all about us. Where we were from, how much money we had, and everything. Everybody in the family that ever got hung.
Now, where did you get married? Did you get married in Cork or in Belfast?
In Cork.
You sure it was Cork?
I got married so that my folks could see me. They weren't happy about it, you know, and, they felt they were losing me, and my father was very upset about it. That's why I didn't tell them I got married again in Belfast, too.
Oh, I see. You first got married in Cork, then you were married again in Belfast.
I didn't get married in the church, though. I just did it to make Brian happy. Don't you repeat that.
No, that...
You repeat things.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I won't repeat that anyway. When you finally got married in the church, did you become a Catholic?
No, I told you I didn't. I didn't accept it. I didn't get married in the church. I got married in Father John's room.
Father John's room?
He did it as a favor.
I see.
It was just for the church record and for the children we didn't have.
I understand.
I didn't condemn him.
What did you say?
I didn't condemn Brian. It's the way he was brought up, and he didn't condemn me.
I see.
I promised if we had any children, they'd be brought up the way he wanted.
I see. All right. Rest and relax. We're trying to find things that'll prove who you are. Now, one thing about your father. What did you say his name was?
My father?
Yes.
Duncan.
Are you sure that Duncan Murphy was a barrister?
That's what he told my mother and me.
You think he was a barrister?
Yes.
Did he do any other kind of work?
He did some cropping.
Some what?
Cropping.
What's that?
Cropping to grow things.
Oh, I see. And your brother Duncan, was he a cropper like his father?
Yes, he was. He was supposed to be. That's the way it went.
Was Brian really a barrister?
Brian says I have a terrible chill.
Relax. Relax completely. You'll be very comfortable now. You feel very comfortable. Do you feel comfortable now? That's good, because after you awaken, you feel even more comfortable. You feel fine after you awaken. You feel fine. Now, let's try and go right on back. Past the time you were a little girl in Ireland. Back, even beyond that. Just rest and relax, and some scene will come into your mind. You may not look the same, but you know it'll be you, and you'll be able to tell me about it. Just relax and think for a few moments, and I'll talk to you again in a little while. Some scene that you remember. Tell me about it.
Just a little baby. Dying.
Who is dying?
Me.
Where are you? Do you have any idea?
In the house. My head. Sickness.
What country do you know?
America.
What state do you live in?
No, Amsterdam.
Do you know what your name is?
No.
Do you know how old you are?
Just a little baby.
What is your mother's name?
Vera.
And what is your father's name?
John.
And what is the last name?
Jameson.
Do you know what year it is? But you know you're in America.
Yes.
How do you know?
I don't know, just know.
And did you die?
Yes.
How did you die?
I'm sick.
Sick with what?
My arm hurts.
How does your arm hurt?
My leg, it hurts.
Your leg hurts? Oh, no, it hurt you then, but it doesn't hurt you now.
Morey, get her away from what she's seen.
All right, we're going to forget about the life in New Amsterdam. We're going to forget about the life in New Amsterdam. Now, clear your mind and forget all about that. We're coming back to the present time and place. We're coming back to the present time and place. We're coming back to the present time and place. Are you awake? Relax. How do you feel?
Could I have a linen?
What's a linen? Relax.
I need a linen.
She must mean a handkerchief. Yes, we're getting you a linen. Here. Now close your eyes. Relax. Close your eyes. Relax. Close your eyes. Go back to sleep. In a few minutes, I'll awaken you. All right. Relax now. Close your eyes. Relax. Close your eyes. Relax. Close your eyes. All right. We're coming back to the present time. We're coming back to the present time. Coming back to the present time. I'm going to count to 5, and when I reach the count of 5, you'll awaken and you'll be back in the present time and place. You hear me? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you hear me? All right. Now, do you know where you are?
In Cork.
You're Mrs. Ruth Simmons. You're coming back to the present time, and you're Mrs. Ruth Simmons. Do you hear me?
Ryan says I have a chill.
Get her back as fast as you can. Rex, the window. Do you hear me? You'll never have that chill again. That chill will never bother you again. I'm going to count to 5, and when I do, you'll awaken at the count of 5 and be Mrs. Ruth Simmons. You'll be back in the present time and place. Do you hear me? Ruth, can you hear me? Can you understand what I'm saying? All right. 1, 2. Ruth, how do you feel? Are you awake?
Ryan says I have a terrible chill.
You're going to forget about Brian. You're going to forget about Brian. Ruth, do you hear me?
Father's girls are dancing down. Father's girls are dancing down.
Say anything, but keep talking. You're going to forget that song. You're no longer Bridey Murphy. You're Mrs. Ruth Simmons, and you're back in the present time and place. Ruth,
want you to close your eyes and rest and relax for a few minutes, because during these few minutes you will get wonderful relaxation, even more relaxation than during a normal sleep. I will stop talking, and in a few moments you will get very deep relaxation, so that after you awaken you feel especially fine. I will talk to you again in a few moments. By the time I reach the count of 5, you'll awaken and be Mrs. Ruth Simmons. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? You'll awaken and you're Mrs. Ruth Simmons. You will awaken and you're Mrs. Ruth Simmons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Here, Morey. Go on, drink it down.
If I were Ruth's doctor, I'd refuse to be held responsible for her health if she went on with these sessions.
Why? Because I'm going to have another baby?
Well, that's pretty good reason in itself. But after what's happened tonight, I'm satisfied that this whole thing has gotten out of control.
He's quite right, Morey.
I'm sorry, Morey.
I'm the one who should be apologizing to you.
Well, here's to Bridey Murphy, wherever she is. May she have served her purpose, whatever it turns out to be.
I think it's important to remind you that we're not trying to claim we proved anything. Except perhaps that hypnotism is a powerful force that can't be kidded around with as though it were a harmless little parlor game. If the attention Bridey aroused is a sign that hypnotism is at last coming into its own as a healer of the fear-ridden and the sick, the world could do worse than meet it halfway. Thank you for being with us, and goodbye.